And the way you address that balance is by bringing in that alkaline, bringing in that rest and digest, that yin aspect to the human organism. So I wanted to take this morning to bring attention to some useful tips and tricks that you're going to find very valuable moving forward on this journey of semen retention, cultivating your sexual energy. That may not be as mainstream as some of the other gurus out there, some of the other influencers on this particular subject matter. So the first is this practice of fasting. Now, I spoke about fasting many times on this channel, but perhaps not as directly in relation to the practice of semen retention. So why is fasting really integral to seeing positive results and, I suppose, managing that journey with a little bit more ease? Well, the first is the idea of energy. When you begin to cultivate more of your sexual energy and you're not taxing your body and your nervous system into constantly having to replenish your sexual fluids night after night after night after you're releasing, you realize that there is going to be a build-up of energy to the point where some of you are going to struggle to sleep the usual time you sleep. If it's 8 hours, if it's 9 hours, you'll realize that that time will be cut down because your body doesn't need to sleep that long, because it doesn't need to, again, replenish those fluids. Remember, the reproductive fluids that you have are the most potent and powerful and most valuable fluids that you have, and the body prioritizes the replenishment of them above all other things. Remember, it has to follow those prime directives of eating to sustain the individual, but also reproducing. The body has to be ready to reproduce at any given moment, and if it is sexually empty of those fluids, it's going to prioritize them. So you have more energy. What does this mean in relation to your eating habits? Well, what is the primary function of food, of eating? It's replenishing your energy, getting energy back for you to go through the physical tasks that you have to do, the intellectual tasks that you have to do at any given day. So fasting is one of those, I believe, so integral to this practice that you're going to struggle to find an equilibrium otherwise. It's understanding that I have more natural energy available to me, and I no longer need to be filling up my body with food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, because you don't need, what is that food going to be utilized for? You don't need it. So that's a rational reaction to the energy problem, let's say, and if you're having trouble sleeping, is to cut down on how much food you're eating. And again, this is going to free up your digestive process and energy used for that process to otherwise be used for more mental tasks, intellectual tasks, physical tasks. Now, the other thing to be mindful of when we're fasting is that if you're eating too much, think about where the stomach is situated, right? And the pressure that this is going to have on your intestines, and what sits below your intestines and your bladder, your genitals. So if you're being a little bit overindulgent, if you're being a little bit of a glutton and you're eating too much every single day, you're creating a downward pressure, a downward force on your genitals. And what is going to be the consequence of that? Well, you're going to find that that area is more heightened and more stimulated. So urges being more frequently aroused is going to come as a natural consequence of having that full stomach. So fasting, especially intermittent fasting in the morning, those are the times of the day where you're again empty and not liable to be susceptible to those urges as a consequence of not, again, heightened stimulation in that area. Maybe that was a convoluted way to get round to that point, but I hope that makes sense. Now, another very interesting part of the food, let's say, part of the formula for semen retention is this idea of the types of food that you eat. Now, I need to preface this in saying that I'm, an omnivore. I eat both, full carnivore meals, meat, fish, poultry, red meat, of course. But I also take the time to rebalance my diet on certain days by just having vegetarian meals. I'm not an ideologue. You're not going to hear me spout off any, fundamentalism in terms of the diet, and like only do carnivore or only do vegan and only do vegetarian. Each of them have their benefits depending on what physiological results that you would like to see, and that's just a fundamental truth of nutrition. It's not a universal diet that's right for everybody. It's what are you trying to achieve. If you're trying to put on muscle on a vegan diet, you're gonna really have a hard time with it. That's having both hands tied behind your back. You're going to get there far quicker on a diet that is saturated with meat, fish, eggs, poultry, and good fat sources. And that's just basic human biology. However, in regards to your temperament and being sensitive towards the urges that you might experience on this journey, because these are again a lot of the messages I get, a vegetarian diet is very alkaline. It's not as acidic as a carnivore diet or having a lot of meat, fish, eggs, poultry in your diet, and it can help a lot with urges. So if this is something that you're really struggling with and you're looking for alternative ideas to try substituting your more omnivore or carnivorous diet for a more vegetarian diet, which is based on alkali kinds of foods. It's all about trying to maintain an equilibrium, and when you're hot and bothered and aroused, you're typically becoming more acidic, more heightened, more aggressive, more prone to, again, those reproductive habits. And the way you address that balance is by bringing in that alkaline, bringing in that rest and digest, that yin aspect to the human organism. It's all a balancing act when you look at it. A lot of the questions I'll get are based in the fundamental fact that you're just not balancing yourself right. Your hormones are out of whack. So all these things that I've suggested, trying a vegetarian diet, fasting, these are all tools to allow you to tip the scales back into your favor. I hope that makes sense. I hope this video is valuable and you can perhaps tell me your own personal experience with some of those unique ideas. But if there's anything that I've missed or anything that you have personally found that's helpful in your journey, drop it in the comment section down below. Get a discussion going. Help your fellow brethren out on this divine journey to walk the path of the brahmachari and become the divine creator himself. Share your knowledge, share your wisdom. That being said, if you subscribe to this information, then you can subscribe to me, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon, my friends. Be well.